Welcome back to a 70s radio station where people are out back smoking doobies with flower crowns on, not the Snapchat filters, the real flower crowns, the ones that had maggots crawling in them and dirt and feces and fecal matter and piss, because that's what people were rolling around in back then. And guys, I know you're probably like, wow, this is the second episode and things are really cutting out video wise. Is my desktop really that full that a photo booth video, a photo booth video, I don't know about you guys, but keeping track of how full my computer is one of the biggest problems I have with not already living in the future, because I feel like if you're gonna live with computers, then it shouldn't get full on you, you know, like it should take care of that itself, I feel like. Oh my God, can you believe I'm using podcast time to talk about how full my computer is? What is reality? I'm going to take this opportunity to go to a quick ad, a sponsor. This video is brought to you by Photo Booth, literally the worst piece of fucking technology. Oh my God, I can do effects. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of storage. To look at this effect, I'm literally doing a podcast in this effect right now. There you go, it cut out again, but that was a solid 4 seconds. Also, these effects always make people look like someone named Lance, you know? Just a really pronounced bridge of the nose, and like somebody who fights and wrestles in high school. Thank you guys for bearing with me through that last commercial break. So what I did to solve our little 2012 storage problem was I deleted all the clips from the first episode, and it just cut out again. So I actually didn't solve anything, and we're already at like 5 minutes in. So this is really going great, you guys. So remember when I said I think we're 5 minutes in already? I looked at the total amount of seconds and all the clips I've recorded so far, and it's literally 36 plus 9 plus 4 plus 20. So that's about 2 minutes, I think. And please don't hold your breath on that being correct, because doing a podcast, you're sitting here and I'm talking to myself. And the reason that I wanted to do this podcast in the first place is because I listen to a lot of podcasts, but also mainly is that whenever I have ideas for stand-up, I want to get them on the stage right away, and I can't really do that. And I write them all down, and sometimes I forget where I'm going to go with it in the first place. So I just thought might as well talk to myself in a camera and about 25 to 30 people who watch the first 2 minutes of this podcast, and just sort of get those ideas out there, you know, and like sort of work on them and then take them to the stage after I've kind of fleshed them out a little bit. And not saying that this is going to be stand-up sets on stand-up sets, but it's kind of just to like get some creative juices flowing and hold a microphone. And like I told you guys in the first episode, those of you who are tuning back in for the second episode, which, by the way, thank you for really just being like a super creative and fun person, because that's the kind of person it takes to tune back into this. I sent my friend the first episode, and she was like, you should just call it Rambling Man. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because that's honestly what I'm doing. I'm just rambling. I'm just having fun doing it. And if you guys are listening to this, you're honestly probably doing really good. And you should really be proud of yourself, because you're honestly listening to this right now. And you could be listening to, let's say, like a Pitbull song. You could be putting on like some Black Eyed Peas from like 2013, like stuff that was played at all the bar mitzvahs I went to. And like, you really could be listening to that, but you're intellectually engaging with another human being. And lately I've been thinking a lot about human beings, and that's because I've been watching some interesting content. Netflix put out this show, Jailbirds Season 2, And for those of you who don't know, Jailbirds is literally a show about like 18-year-old girl prison. It's like Jailbirds is literally like if Orange is the New Black was a documentary, and it's like 18-year-old girls who have a lot of daddy issues and drug issues and ended up in prison. And it's honestly really sad. I've been dealing with a lot of thoughts about possibly leaving this country, and not to spook the government because I know they listen to this podcast, but I kind of wanted to move out of this country after watching Jailbirds, and then right afterwards watching Where to Invade Next by Michael Moore. And that's kind of what I'm going to be talking primarily about in this episode, is looking outside of the country and seeing how much sicker everybody is. They're all on sicko mode. Here's the thing about America, right? Growing up, you don't question America is the greatest country on earth. And did I full-heartedly believe that? I don't know. I was a pretty reasonable person, even as a child. I was like, how could I know if it's the best country if I haven't been to other countries?
Siri, why does God allow suffering?
And suffering is a big part of it. And it's all about power with America. The U.S. really lost its way, man. Like, it's somebody who you thought had a lot of promise, like a childhood best friend who you were kind of like doing stuff with, and then high school and college got around, and then things just started getting bad for one of you. You're like, damn. That's what the United States is. I feel like you can call this unpatriotic if you want, but honestly, it's literally the most patriotic to care about the country that you're living in, right? Like, I want the United States, my country, to be better. That's why I'm even talking about any of this to 30 people, because I think the United States has a lot of potential to change and be good. But at the same time, I know that's less likely to happen than OJ not murdering someone again. If you guys have seen his Twitter, it's kind of all leading up to that. So this Michael Moore documentary, Where to Invade Next, I've actually watched it. I watched it when it first came out like 2 or 3 years ago, and then I watched it again with my friends again tonight. And what I kind of come to realize, not only has the U.S. lost its way, but other countries just kind of have it figured out more, and people seem to be happier there. But those are the countries that aren't nuking other countries, right? Like the United States prioritizes power, similar to like a raccoon like digging through the trash, right? Like, I am the most powerful being in this trash can, and that raccoon symbolizes the United States. So for those of you who don't know, Michael Moore is basically like Peter Griffin meets Casey Neistat, and what's really great about him is he really covers serious topics like government and politics, and breaks it down in a way that connects it like emotionally, sort of like what the opposite of like CNN and Fox News do. And like, listen, I lean Democrat because those are just the values I believe in, and the color blue really complements my eyes. But I think that like CNN and Fox News have really just become like, Fox News is like I can hate on Fox News completely, but I can also hate on CNN because, you know what? They're also doing the same exact thing. A place for you to glue your eyes and think about the big picture rather than the day-to-day. And that's sort of what crazy people do. Like when you're locked up in the bin, like smearing your shit on the walls to make art. But when you actually focus on the day-to-day quality of life, like we're talking quality of life as in the one strand of consciousness you have, but the strand of consciousness is your life, right? And your day-to-day life is broken down into hours, and the amount of hours that are controlled indirectly by the government and the decisions that they're making is basically the majority of your hours. And that boils down to money. Like, the money makes the world go round. That's what my orthodontist used to say to me to get me to put teeth under my pillows. But I honestly think that Michael Moore did a great job of going into all these countries. And basically what the guy did, this is the Peter Griffin meets Casey Neistat documentary guy who made Where to Invade Next again. He went into each country, and basically what he did is like, oh, I like that, I'm going to take it. Kind of like a girl from the Netflix show Prison Birds at Claire's in the mall. It's just like, hey, I'm going to take that idea. But of course, unlike the $13 earrings that a girl from the Jailbird show would steal, he's stealing ideas and ideals that run throughout an entire country. And what I realized watching this documentary is a country is honestly such a huge concept, right? Like, when you get like 100 likes on your Instagram picture, like, that's nothing to you, right? Because you can't see those 100 people. That's 100 human beings. That's an entire, like, for me, that was my entire high school class. That's a lot of people. And if you think about that times 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 for a country, that is a lot to manage. There's so many people. And if you take away the humanity from all of those people, not only do the chances of everyone hating each other become way more, but also you have things like a culture that prioritizes power and escapism and thinking about big picture ideas instead of the quality of their day-to-day life. Like, in the documentary, he went to Italy and he interviewed this couple. The guy's a cop and he's wearing a scarf like he's an Hermes model. This guy is a cop in Italy. And I thought that was super, telling itself, is that the constructs of masculinity and gender politics are an American export, right? Like, that's an idea that we have the macho cowboy, the Marty McFly, the Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars, the Terminator. He was interviewing these Italians, and they were shocked to hear that a good amount of time off for a job is 2 weeks a year, paid vacation. I mean, not paid vacation is the standard in the United States. 2 weeks not paid vacation in the United States. And it's like you had told them that pizza had been banned from Italy, and pasta had been banned from Italy, and that they had to call football soccer now. Honestly, all these Italians were really out here bulling with these cappuccinos, and they get so much time off. It's literally, it feels like common sense. Like, when you hear them explain that they get 30, I forget what it is. They get a sick amount of weeks off. Like I said, they're in sicko mode, you guys. Like, they literally get so much time off that when they do go into work, it's literally like, okay, yeah, I'll go to work. And that brings me to the next part of this documentary that I thought was mind-blowing, is the jails in Norway are literally like high schools in America. And if that's the case, then then prisons in America must be like high schools in what? North Korea? Like, prisons in America are really, I mean, it's just incredible. The systematic, like, the drip effect, the ripple effect, the drip effect. That's when you have on sick clothing. That's what the drip effect is. But the ripple effect of history and slavery and racism and all the way through World War II, because what it seems like to me is World War II, just from what I've learned in history class, and then like this documentary tonight making me think about all these things, with all these not new countries, but revitalized countries who know what they're doing, is like World War II was this sort of rock bottom for human progression. And from that point on, it's like, okay, the only place you can go is up, right? And the United States was like, I think I have a shovel. Oh wait, not only do I have a shovel, I have a nuclear bomb, so I'm literally gonna hit the furthest rock bottom I can hit. So they literally nuke innocent civilians, right? I'm an American. We literally nuked innocent civilians in the midst of the civil rights movement, which is when they were able to start the war on drugs and start locking people up. And get this, right? So Portugal doesn't arrest people for using drugs. Michael Moore, this dude literally did he full sent it. Like he did a bump of coke in front of the officers in Portugal. And they literally looked at him like, oh yeah, this guy looks like he can party. Like
heroin, pot, meth, pills, nothing?
No.
If I told you I had cocaine on me right now, you wouldn't do anything.
In the last 15 years, no one has went to jail for drugs in Portugal. So if any of you want to use that for your high school graduation quotes, hit me up, And the Norwegian prisons thing, it's like after watching Jailbirds and seeing the Norwegian prisons, like these girls who are in a jail being treated like animals by guards who are probably crazier than the actual prison mates. They're over there like controlling a bunch of 18-year-old girls who have no family, no money, 16 in the middle of Miami. Like they don't have any empathy. And I think empathy this is going to sound just like an Instagram Explore page quote, but empathy is really what's missing from all of it. Everything. And it's like in Norway, these guys are in max security prison and they have keys to their own room. And that's honestly, at first it took me back, right? It's like, okay, these guys are monsters. They don't deserve, these guys are monsters, right? Like they committed the worst crimes, but they are still human beings. And that's the part that I think Americans really struggle with, is accepting any flaw, right? Because this country was started, God, I sound like Alessandria Cortez on an Instagram live, but basically this country was started by Puritans. They broke away from the English church. Like religion and being a Puritan and feeling and conforming to what a greater being says is American. If we can break through that boundary, we can break through a lot of boundaries. I'm not just talking about fisting. Like we can really break boundaries with prison reform. And I'm sorry, I just heard myself say prison reform. I'm literally over here like,
All right, but
Okay.
listen to me, okay?
Yeah, I am.
Don't talk to me that way.
like what who am I to say, like I'm literally just a kid trying to pursue a comedy career and I'm over here talking about prison reform. But that's the truth. So I think where this tangent started out was me talking about the prisons. And so like this guy in Norway, he did a mass murder of like a camp of kids, like a summer camp. This dude got max 21 years. And see, that's where I think our system works, is like monsters don't get to see the light of day. And I think that works really well, not only from a preventative measure, but like it makes family members feel like there's some sort of justice where life was taken. And America doesn't have a middle class. Like America doesn't have workers who work in factories, who make valuable goods and have time off and make enough money where they can just work that one job. Like that doesn't exist in America. And that's why everyone is so pressured. Like in high school, everyone so pressured to get into a great college and get an STD and do well on the SATs. And so I think where this tangent really started out was when I was talking about how World War II was a rock bottom for global progression. And it's sort of similar to like, if you think about like winning a competition, right? Like if you win a water polo match, like keep in mind I've never played water polo, but if you win a water polo match, your team is going to be like, all right, guys, we're doing great. We don't have to change a thing. Like we're winning. We're the most powerful and nobody can say anything or else we'll beat them again in water polo. All these other countries who weren't the winning water polo team, who maybe got third, fourth, fifth, they all had the opportunity to take a step back and be like, oh, what really matters now that like half our population's dead and our economy's crumbled? And I'm talking like post World War II. But before I sign off, I'm just gonna go through some things that I've been thinking about. So on top of having this identity crisis of like the country I live in and the culture I'm a part of that's toxic and making everyone depressed, I was also thinking of the identity crisis I had from school to school, because like right now I go to USC and I'm a Trojan, which is a condom. But when I was in elementary school, our mascot was a Spartan, which is a violent character for an elementary school. And then I went to a high school where the mascot were Quakers. And for those of you who don't know, Quaker, yeah, like Quaker Oats, but they're pacifists. They don't fight. And like, I remember everyone at the school, like our favorite thing to do was watch World Star Hip Hop and like fight.
Head is matted black, got the boosters black to match. Riding on a horse, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch now. You know, it's so many horse.
All right, guys, for the last thought of the podcast for today, I'm going to leave you with this. Canada is a fucking country. Like, think about that. There is a whole country above the United States called Canada, and the media controls us, and we barely ever hear about Canada, and it's all a simulation. So thank you guys for joining me, and if you like Rambling Man, let me know. If you come up with another name, let me know. But for right now, it's just I Have a Podcast. So thank you for listening, and go watch Where to Invade Next by Michael Moore.
Dude. Shush.